Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. In today's episode we're going to check out an ATO unit from the brand Kamoer, the ATO 1. Alright, so a little while ago I did a review on my brand new dosing pump from Kamoer, the X4 Pro, and the company was so impressed by the video that they said, would you be interested in doing another product review for us? To which I said, of course, who wouldn't? But it does give me a good opportunity to say that this product was supplied to me for this review, or the purpose of this review, so bear that in mind when I give you my feedback on it, but trust as always that I'll give you my unbiased opinion. Now, probably should start off by explaining what an ATO is. It's not the Australian tax off, it's an automatic top-off unit. Okay, so I guess it's ATO unit, but the concept or the idea is when you have a tank, whether it be freshwater or marine, that it will evaporate. You may know, even if you leave a glass of water out for a couple of days, the water will actually start to go down, even more so if you've got a bit of surface disruption in there. The water will evaporate out of the tank. Now, you obviously want to top that water back off again, and you can do that manually, of course. Of course, when you're using marine water, for example, you need to top off with filtered fresh water because it's only the fresh water that evaporates. The salt stays in the tank, but with freshwater tanks, you obviously still don't want your levels to go down too far because the idea of having a fish tank is that you have water in a glass box, you know. As soon as you start letting all the water out, it's got to look strange. So there are a number of devices on the market and there's no shortage of automatic top-off units out there. So I'm curious to see what's different about this ATO 1 from Kamoer. Now, the first thing I can point out that is a bit different from it is its price point. This comes in at retail of $99 Australian, which is very, very cheap, and particularly for something with the quality associated with the brand of Kamoer. So I figured we'd do an unboxing of this unit, see what we get for $99 Australian, and then I'll whack it on a little demonstration tank and see how it goes from there. Alright, so let's rip into it. You see the sort of device you get on the front and obviously Kamoer branding, but let's open up this box and see what's in there. Straight up we get this tiny little unit which is the brains, and once we lift that up we should find that we get the power pack with the Australian plug, of course. Clip that in. We get, I assume this will be the pump. Sure is. Little Kamoer branded pump here. Looks like this guy will run between 6 volts and 12 volts DC and draws about 5 watts. It's got a maximum head of 1.5 to 2 meters and will flow 500 liters an hour. So it's a pretty gutsy little pump considering the size of it, but we'll see what else we get. We get some magnetic mounts. Move that packaging aside, don't need to open that again. Okay, so we get 2 magnetic mounts. Very nice rubber coated magnetic mounts. We get a bunch of hose, I assume from the pump. We get a little connector. I'm assuming that's just a connector, not a one-way or anything like that. It's just a straight up hose connector. Hold up, Future Sam here. That's not actually just a hose connector, it's a siphon brake. Super important, let's get back to it. We get a mount for the hose to go back into the tank. Pretty nice little Kamoer branded bit of kit there. This will screw onto the rim of the tank and this will screw to hold your hose in. And underneath the brain itself, so we've got the brain, we've got the power in, we've got the pump connection out. We have sensor 1, which is a mechanical float switch. I believe this is the emergency, the overflow. And then sensor 2 is this little optical switch. So this will actually measure the distance to the water. And then you also have an optional connection for sensor 3. You see the little S3 marking there and a connection there. That is to allow you to put an additional sensor into your freshwater reservoir if you wanted to run a float switch in there to make sure that this unit doesn't pump when that's empty. Pretty clever idea. And then of course you also get the instructions on what you get, how to set it up, but we don't need to worry about that because I'm going to take you through that in this video. So let's go set up my little display tank and give you some examples of this system running. Alright, so I've got my assistant here, Ruby, and she's going to help me set up this Kamoer ATO 1. Now, You may recall when I said that this little plastic connector here is not necessary. That's my first mistake. This is actually the siphon brake, and it absolutely is necessary. So you have to install that. So you have your pump, bit of hose, to your siphon brake, to a bit of hose, into your display tank. So what I've got here is I've set up a little simulation of a display tank. We've got a little display tank here with a low water level just to make things easy, and a little ATO reservoir here. So we're going to install our pump with our siphon brake into the reservoir. All right, now it does have little suction cups which will hold it down in the base. Just make sure we keep our plug out of there. We don't need that to get stuck in there.
We don't want the plug to be out.
We don't want the plug to be in the water, do we?
No, we don't want the plug.
Now we've got our siphon brake, which is above the water line, and then we've got this little bracket here which will just hold the hose in place for us. Perfect. Okay. All right, now next, we have our overflow switches. Gonna just disconnect, sorry, not disconnect, gonna undo these cable ties.
Yeah.
Now these are little magnetic sensors. See how that's a magnet? See what happens is when you get close to that? See how?
Oh yeah, it's a magnet.
It's a magnet.
Like when you put magnets on the fridge.
That's right, it's just like magnets on the fridge. So we've got, this is the optical sensor which tells us exactly the level we want our water to be. So we're gonna set that one right at the water's level.
Oh, that's cool.
Right there.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Like how can that be on the outside and that can stick on there?
That's right,
amazing.
the magnet goes through, doesn't it? It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Ooh.
This mechanical float switch will ensure that the water definitely does not get up to that height.
That's the same with that. It still sticks on there.
Yep, the magnets still do the same thing. We'll just put those
cool.
cables over there, semi out of the way.
I like fish. I like the fish tanks that have rocks on the bottom. I like it when they have rocks on the bottom.
Yeah, this one doesn't have any rocks, but this one's just a little example tank, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our pump connector, which can only go into the pump connector because that's the only way it's going to go. We have our power connector, which can only go in there.
Whoa, that's cool. It can only go there. Whoa.
Our two floats are already connected, so we can't get them wrong.
Oh yeah, we can't.
So I'm going to turn on the power to the sensor itself.
It says, what does that say?
It said filling, but then it stops. So that's just its little startup cycle. And now it says that it's got power and everything's okay. There's no alarms, there's no filling. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this little pump here.
Ooh.
That's going to simulate water evaporating out of this tank. So it's going to pump water out of here into our reservoir. That's just so we can have an endless cycle here. Obviously, that's not what would normally happen.
Because this one has a bit more water than that one.
Yeah, so what would normally happen is your water would evaporate and it would slowly go down, and then the water would come out of this tank and top this one back up again. But just for simulation purposes, we're going to pump water out of this tank into this one. So I'm going to turn that pump on for a second.
Whoa.
And you see our water level here going down.
Yeah.
And then our top off unit is turned on to fill it back up again. Now if I turn that other pump off, the water should catch up to the sensor and stop. Beautiful. Now we'll turn that pump back on again to drop the water level.
Yeah.
And you see it comes back on to top it back up again.
Oh yeah. This one's not really catching up very much with the water.
Now it caught up. That's pretty cool. That's how an ATO works. Now the little siphon brake is here just in case something happens and this hose drops down into your water. When the power turns off, you don't want this water level draining down into this water level, because typically people tend to put the ATO reservoir down below their tank or somewhere lower than the display, and then you can have siphon problems, which you obviously don't want. All right, now that my little assistant has gone to find some less fish tanky things to do, I thought we'd get in a little bit closer and we'd push this unit to the limits a little bit more and test out some of its safety features. So the first one we've got, and I'll just turn the pump back on to show it operational still. We pump water out of there into here, and you see that the sensor picks it up straight away and starts pumping water back into the display to bring up to that optical sensor there. As soon as it reaches that, we stop. Siphon brake ensures that even if there was water up to this level here, that we're not pumping water back. Now, should something somehow go wrong, whether it be the ATO or some other device, and for some reason this level starts going up, so I'll bring the emergency switch down. You know, we get a visual and an audible alarm saying that something is wrong here. We've got a red light flashing and a beeping sound. I'll bring that sensor back up and instantly our alarm stops. That's one of the safety features of the ATO one. All right, now another safety feature that I've just discovered is if by somehow your pump gets disconnected by accident, which is this cable. If I disconnect the pump, we get an alarm instantly telling us that you've disconnected the pump and it's obviously not going to operate. Plug that back in and you're good to go. All right, guys, there you have it. That's the Kamoer ATO one in operation. I hope that answers most of your questions. I've been playing with this unit all day now, and I must admit, it seems like an incredibly high quality bit of gear for under $100 Australian retail. Now, if I had to be very, very critical and find a couple of things I didn't like, the first one would be the length of this emergency overflow. I understand that you're not going to have your water right up to the top centimetre of your sump or your back section, but the length of that does mean that you kind of need to have it a fair way from the top of your, whether it's your sump or your back chamber. That could be limiting in some situations, probably not, but like I said, if I had to be critical. And secondly, if I wanted to be ultra critical, I did find when I was doing some tests from this tank into this tank and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that when I did that repeatedly, after a while I managed to form just a tiny little drop on the sensor here, which would mean that it did take the ATO sensor a couple seconds to trigger, because that drop of water would hang on and the sensor would see that as water at the sensor, and then eventually it'd drip off and it'd turn on. Realistically, whether your top off unit turns on the second it gets below that water level, or it takes up to 10 seconds for that to happen, it's really actually not going to matter. But I wanted to tell you, I told you at the start that I wanted this review to be as unbiased as possible. So they're the two things I could probably knock about this system. The things I love about it is the siphon brake, not a water connector, but the siphon brake is a really good idea. It just helps idiot-proof your ATO setup a lot further. And I absolutely, despite this one being quite long, I absolutely love the magnetic attachments. Forget suction cups. If you're looking at any ATO device with a suction cup, forget it right now. It's no good. You need to have magnets for these things, and the quality of these magnets feel very, very good. So that's my pros and cons of the Kamoer ATO one. I do struggle to think that it would be possible to find a better ATO for under $100. You probably could spend a lot more money and find something with a couple more features, but realistically, this is going to do everything you need. So I did mention at the start of this video that this unit was given to me by Kamoer, and therefore I feel like it's only fair that I give it away to one of my viewers out there. So to win this unit, it's obviously has been used now, but I'll pack it up and make it look like it's never been used and get it back in this box and get it sent out to you. To win, all you need to do is be an Australian resident, be a subscriber of the channel, and put a comment in the section down below on the YouTube page to say what tank you would use this Kamoer ATO one on. That's it, guys. That's all you have to do to win this top off. I'll even throw in a Kamoer t-shirt that they sent to me, which is much too small for me. I really appreciate them thinking I'm slimmer than I am, but you know, such is life. So that's all you have to do to win this unit, guys. I'll leave the review at that. If you have any questions, pop it in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you're yet to subscribe, particularly if you want to win this unit, consider hitting that subscribe button down in the corner down here. Till next time, guys, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers. Bye.